Hello everybody, welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host as always, Krabby Terror 8, and here we are in episode 43 of season 1 of the Investigator Games with everybody's favourite sorcerer, Dexter Drake the Magician. Yes, now for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. What is the Investigator Games? Well, it's like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator true solo with their starter decks and we put them through a scenario, and in Season 1 it's The Gathering. Season 2, which is well underway, is The Midnight Masks, and then once we've done The Midnight Masks we will move to Season 3, which will be The Devourer Below. But we needed to come back to Season 1 because a whole slew of new investigators arrived with the Innsmouth Conspiracy. And we're here with Dexter Drake, who will be the last one before we move back to Season 2. And the reason for that is we did Silas earlier when he was more of a promotional card, and we that then, so we don't need to do Silas again. We can move forward to the Midnight Masks. So and spoilers, if you are brand new to the game, you've never played The Gathering, you've never played Arkham Horror, the living card game, I really would encourage you to do that first, or seek out other introductory videos. I'm assuming you know this scenario at least a bit, and you've played at least a couple of times before seeing this video. Also, for those who have not seen it, I would encourage those of you who have not seen my video on the in-depth analysis of The Gathering, I would heartily recommend you have a look at that. It goes into every aspect of The Gathering, from the lore, the gameplay, this whole scenario from top to bottom, so I would recommend that as well. So yes, Dexter Drake. So he's a very interesting mystic investigator from, as I said, the Innsmouth Conspiracy. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at his stats, we'll have a look at his cards, and then we will go ahead and we will play and see how he goes. So now, shout out to a couple of videos, Optimal Play and also Big Stupid Grin. I did have a look at their videos on Dexter Drake before I did this, so I do need to shout out to them. I've left links to their excellent YouTube channels in my notes if you want to check them out as well, and I would heartily recommend that you do. So, Dexter Drake, yes, he is a mystic magician, which means that when we look at his stat line, not surprisingly, willpower is prominent with a big hefty 5 willpower, which is good. We need that because, of course, willpower tends to be the engine that drives a lot of spells in the mystic class. Now, apart from that, his other stats aren't too bad. He's got a fight of 3, which is not too bad. If you don't have something like a shriveling or something like that as your flame, then you would be fighting. So 3 is fairly respectable, I think. The biggest problem, and 2, vitality is sort of lowish, but he has other ways, of course, of evading if he needs to. Probably the thing particularly with the deck that he has as a starter deck, the biggest weakness he has is a relatively low intellect. Now, if you were optimizing his deck, you would put in spells which allow you to seek up, discover clues relatively easily, and there's a few of those sorts of cards, but they're not in this deck. So unfortunately, and I'm just trying to think, there's 2 particularly. I've put them up in front of you in the video, and I can't remember either of them on the top of my head. But yes, there are particular cards for that, and obviously you would be using those with Dexter to get clues. The other one, of course, is Drawn to the Flame, which allows you to get clues, 2 clues relatively quickly, and we'll talk about that as well. So that's his stat line. Pretty good, except I think in The Gathering, one of the issues we're going to have is getting clues generally. So there we go. His special ability is very powerful, actually. Some people are saying it's somewhat akin, I suppose, or similar in some ways to Akachi, who was very strong, allowing you to get extra charges to your spells, but there's a fast, I think it's called a fast trigger, whatever it is, fast action trigger. During your turn, discard an asset you control, play an asset with a different title from your hand, reducing its cost by 1. So this is really, this is powerful and can be used in all kinds of ways. For example, if you do have something on the table, which is the spell where the charges have been used up, you can discard that asset as a fast action, play a different asset, and it costs you 1 less. So that's very, very nice. Now, you can only do this once per round, but really effective thing to be able to do. Also similar with things like, firearms, because Dexter can take illicit firearms. It allows him to do a lot of switching up of different assets, putting out assets which are not that interesting and then replacing them with other assets for less, that kind of thing, or allies. You can switch them up. There's all kinds of ways you can do that, but it really allows you to fast on the go change your assets quite readily. And of course, assets being weapons, being allies, those sorts of things. So really, really good, really strong ability. Now, his Elder Sign effect is a hearty +2, which is great, but on top of that, you can return an asset from your play area to your hand and draw a card. Now, that's really powerful because, for example, say you had Shriveling down on the table, but you only had 1 charge left, you drew an Elder Sign, you could return that Shriveling back to your hand, draw a card, and then you could replay Shriveling again with the full set of charges. So whilst you're waiting, you would normally expect in a given game to at least draw the Elder Sign at least once. So really, really strong as well. Same with an ally, of course. You could do the same thing where you where allies taken some damage, you can then bring that back to your hand and then play it out again, all nice and clean and neat without any damage on it as well. So again, very, very nice, very powerful effects, allowing you to manipulate different assets. So it sort of leans into the sort of flavor idea that Dexter Drake is very nimble, sleight of hand, and is able to produce particular things at the drop of a hat. Do you want to see true magic? So there you go. Now he has a very respectable 8 mental strength, that's good. You need that for a mystic because taking horror is sort of part and parcel of their oeuvre, if you like. His health is okay. That's probably where he's weakest. So probably not so much of a problem in the gathering, but something like the Midnight Masks can be a problem if you get too many of those hunting shadows and that kind of thing. You can end up very low on health very quickly. So that's something where you need your allies and other sorts of things to kind of soak up the sort of health effects. So that's that. If we just flip the card over and just have a look at the back, he's a mystic rogue, so that's an interesting. I think Safina is also a mystic rogue, but very not standard in the sense that Dexter is with his deck size of 33. But he's a mystic rogue combo, which leads to some interesting combinations, and there are spells within rogue. But you can take mystic cards 0 to 5, rogue cards 0 to 2, and neutral cards. So there's some synergies there, particularly again with assets and being able to switch them out. Yes, he and then he has his usual sort of set of standard cards. Now the promo set had different cards, so there's some flexibility around Dexter which ones you might want to use. So Dexter Drake returned from the Great War to become a successful magician, enthralling audiences with his elaborate illusions and cunning stage tricks. Despite his meteoric success, Dexter longed to discover true magic. He was intrigued by the burnt and torn scraps of occult writing he found during the war, fragments of the infamous Necronomicon. Dexter used his wealth to search for the truth about the ancient lore, and what he found horrified him. He knows that he may well be the only person with the ability to stop evil from swallowing the entire world. There we go. So that's that's Dexter in a nutshell. Pretty good mystic. Quite like him. Let's have a look at his deck. Now, this is a standard Fantasy Flight game starter deck, which assumes you have the base game and you have the Innsmouth Conspiracy. So it is nowhere near optimized. All the investigators start with their starter decks. So, everybody's the same in that way. There are quite a few new cards in there. Again, the lack of neutral cards is a little bit annoying because, for example, with a 2 intellect, you would at the very least put in a couple of perceptions to kind of shore that up. But there's, again, no neutral cards like the guts, the overpower, those sorts of cards are just, they're not there. So that's a little bit annoying, but there seems to be a bit of a theme with these decks that they've avoided those particular cards. But it does mean that they've put in quite a few new cards. So anyway, this is Dexter's, his signature card, which is a 1-cost asset called Showmanship with, of course, 3 pips, as they usually are, 1 wild. And it has a reaction trigger. After an asset enters play under your control until the end of the turn, you get +2 to each of your skills while resolving a triggered ability on that asset. So that is a real synergy and a very powerful synergy with his ability. And it's it's strong in and of itself, but a number of rogue cards, particularly things like rogue weapons, tend to have a benefit if you succeed by 2 or more. So this ensures that your likelihood of succeeding by 2 or more is that much more increased as well. So very nice card, very powerful, one you would want on the table. Sometimes with these signature cards, it's like the three pips can be very powerful, but I think this one you would want that on the table. It's very, very nice. Now, his signature weakness is called the Occult Scraps, which we just heard about in his bio. It's a weakness item, a 0-cost asset. Occult Scraps cannot be played using a play action, so you can't, your usual 3 play actions, you can't use it then. So essentially, you're playing it in as a fast action, which of course is his ability. So his ability allows you discard an asset and play an asset. So that's how you would use it. While Occult Scraps is in your hand, you get -2 to your willpower. If it's in play, you get -1. So you can see what's going on here. Basically, the card is encouraging you to play it part of his ability, which means you would be replacing an asset you already have on the table with the Occult Scraps, and then of course you can only do that once a round, so the next round you would then seek to probably replace this asset with another one. So it's pretty nice because it does sort of thematically work. It's got some downsides, but it's not terrible, although that is situational, because if you did draw it, say, for example, engage with the Ghoul Priest, shriveling, and then you drew Occult Scraps, that would be a particularly terrible time to draw it. So it does tend to depend on when it comes out. It could be pretty nasty. So that's his weakness. Now, the random weakness we drew was actually quite thematic and is one of the new basic weaknesses, which is called Dread Curse with the Innsmouth Conspiracy. Basically, you just add 5 curse tokens to the Chaos bag. So, that was just a random draw. So interesting. So those are the 3 signature cards. If we move into the other new cards that are on here, there's this one here, the Promise of Power. Really interesting card. I really like this card. A massive 4 wild cards, so you can commit it to basically anything. But after you commit Promise of Power to a skill test, you add a curse token to the Chaos bag. If you can't, I'm assuming because you can only have up to 10 curse tokens, then you take 2 horror instead. Now, curse tokens, of course, blessed and cursed, are new tokens in the Innsmouth Conspiracy. Curse tokens, if you draw one, it's a -2 to your skill test, and then you draw again. Blessed tokens are the opposite. They give you +2, and you draw again. You can't have more than 10 of them in the bag at one time. And if you draw one, it then goes into it goes back into the token pool. But this, wow, I mean, for a 1 curse token, you get +4 to a skill test. That's a pretty good exchange. The other thing is it's practiced, which means that I think it's Amanda Sharp, who puts cards, and she can take practice cards. I think she could put this underneath her investigator card, and then she could get +4 for all of her for all of her next 3 actions. So very nice card for her as well. So that's Promise of Power. The other card is Sword Cane. I'm really glad this has come out. I've been wondering when we would get a Sword Cane. I kind of thought it might be a rogue card at one time and sort of be vitality oriented. It kind of is, but it's a magical Sword Cane, I suppose. It's a 2-cost asset. It has 1 fight pip, and really interesting. So playing Sword Cane does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So you can play it without provoking an attack of opportunity, which is great. Reaction trigger: after Sword Cane enters play, immediately trigger its action ability without paying the cost, which is exhausted. So you can enter it into play and not exhaust it. So the first time you enter it into play, you can get 2 actions on it. And indeed, with Dexter, of course, you can do that as a fast action because it's an asset. So you can sort of bring it out as a fast action. You don't exhaust it the first time, so you can really use it. Fight, evade. So you can use it to fight or to evade. Sort of parrying or attacking, you may use your willpower instead of your fight. Now, you don't have to. So it's very flexible in that way, but you may use your willpower in place of your fight or vitality for this attack or evasion attempt. And of course, it doesn't do +1 fight or +1 damage, but wow, great card from that perspective. Really, really, really good. So really like it. And I think really powerful in a Dexter Drake deck because you can bring it onto the table for 1 relatively quickly. It doesn't require charges, so it's not like other magical weaponry. I just forget the name of the... there's a couple of magic weapons which, you can use. The name just escapes me. What's that? It's that Guardian Mystic card. Anyway, it'll be up on the video as well. Sorry, my memory of these things is a little bit hazy sometimes, but that has charges. This doesn't. So that's the Sword Cane. Then we have the Tides of Fate, which is a 1-cost event. Yeah, I think this would work better more in a multiplayer game than solo, but it has a wild card. You can fast play it during a fast trigger window or at the start of the round. You replace all the curse tokens with blessed tokens, and then at the end of the round you replace all the blessed tokens with the curse tokens that are left in the bag. So I can see this working in some circumstances. So for example, there's a lot of curse tokens in the bag. You then convert them, they get used, and then you end up with less, I suppose. You have to be really careful because if people are adding blessed tokens to the bag, you could end up with more curse tokens at the end. So you just got to be careful how you play it. The problem in playing solo, of course, is that you're only drawing limited number of times. So I'm just not sure about the utility of this. I can imagine there are certain circumstances where this would be great, but also it could backfire on you. There's also Tempt Fate, which is a 0-cost event with a wild card, which you can fast play again during a fast window. add 3 curse tokens to the chaos bag, then add 3 bless tokens to the chaos bag, and then draw a card. So that's sort of balanced out essentially, and you get to draw a card. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So there you go. I can imagine, for example, if there are already 10 curse tokens, then this will be handy because you can't add any more curse tokens, but you'd be adding bless tokens. So yeah, that would balance things out. Then there's obfuscation, which I think we've seen before. It was in the Trish Scarborough deck. Good card. It's fast. It's an asset, so which means that again, Dexter Drake can bring it out to replace something else and pay less for it. It's fast anyway. Enemy takes an attack of opportunity against you, spend a charge and cancel that attack. So it allows you to manage attacks of opportunity. The Faustian Bargain, a no-cost event, which again we've seen before, but a great card. Add 2 tokens, curse tokens to the chaos bag. You get a total of 5 resources distributed to other investigators as you wish. Of course, in solo, you get the whole 5. So not bad. 5 resources for 2 curse tokens is pretty good. Speaking of curse tokens, there's also the Dark Ritual, which is a 1-cost asset, which I guess Dexter could bring out for 0. You can seal up to 5 curse tokens, but you've got to spend a resource each time to keep it up. So, yeah. So those are all the new cards. I really like the Sword Cane and the Promise of Power. Really good cards, really interesting stuff. So that's great. Now, the rest of the deck is all pretty standard, origin campaign cards that you would expect from a Fantasy Flight game starter deck. This one is no exception. Now, it's got 2 allies in it. It's got Leo DeLuca, of course, these decks are not taboo compliant. They're hard enough anyway. But this one's got 2 both of these are really, really strong allies. Leo DeLuca, of course, who gives you additional actions, and of course Arcane Initiate, who allows you to search up for more spells. So both are good. Speaking of spells, in terms of offensive ways of course, we've got to deal with the Ghoul Priest in the Gathering, and we have quite a few ways to do that. We've got a Shriveling, but only 1. So there's only 1 Shriveling in here. Of course, if you were designing this deck yourself, and particularly if you were playing solo, you would probably pack a couple of Shrivelings and maybe a couple of Azure. I think they're Azure Flames in here. But yes, Shriveling is in here, which allows you to fight with your willpower. There's also some illicit weaponry here. There's the Derringer, and of course the Switchblade. I always find these illicit weapons a bit marginal. If you succeed by 2 or more, then you get some benefit from it, and indeed the same with the Switchblade. Again, that can sometimes be challenging, but however, as I said, if you've got showmanship down, then you could play one of these assets fast, and then you would get +2, which means your chances of succeeding with something like the Derringer with the 2 or more is that much higher then, because you would be fighting at a 4 versus something else, so you're increasing the chances. There's also a sneak attack in there. He's not really one for exhausting enemies. I mean, you can use the Sword Cane to do that, so you can imagine using the Sword Cane to evade and then doing a sneak attack. So that's sort of a nice kind of flavor there, that you're using the Sword Cane to kind of parry and then use a sort of backstab sneak attack kind of thing to do some damage. There's of course the good old knife. There's one of those. So those are sort of the offensive spells. So if we do get the Shriveling, then what we'll be doing is obviously holding that for the Ghoul Priest if possible. Now, as I said, probably the weakest aspect of this deck is getting clues. Having played it and sort of tested it a couple of times, the clue part is the most challenging, and of course that's what the Investigator Games are all about, is getting the clues, or generally Arkham Horror, the card game, really. Now it has a couple of flashlights, which is great, and you can obviously bring those onto the table fast with his ability, so that's all good. And also there's arcane studies, which allow you to increase your intellect if you spend resources. So if we've got the resources, if we've got emergency cash, then we can use arcane studies. We can do that. That's not too bad. And of course, there's Drawn to the Flame is in there, which allows you to discover 2 clues. So we can use that in something like the cellar and get 2 clues really quickly. So, but I have to say that our ability just with this deck is kind of a bit challenged in terms of getting clues, because the spells available don't allow us to do that. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for us. Other Mystic cards, obviously the Holy Rosary is very welcome. Particularly, we've got Shriveling. We get +1 to willpower, which means we get a massive 6 willpower to use Shriveling, so that's very nice. Obviously, Water Protection is always welcome for that event card that we just don't want to have to deal with. Particularly with Dexter, it's not Rotting Remains, but Grasping Hands is a bit of a problem for him because he's only got 2 vitality. And, you know, you take a damage anyway in the cellar, which gets him down to 5. So you could find yourself with a couple of Grasping Hands actually failing the gathering. So having Water Protection is always welcome from that perspective. There is Blinding Light, which allows you to evade with your willpower. There's also good old Scrying and Forbidden Knowledge, which I never use this, to be honest, but it's there. And then there's a couple of other rogue cards. There's Very Elusive, which is, of course, very powerful. Great card to have. And Hard Knocks, which would allow us to improve our evasion or fight, which is welcome as well, as long as we have the assets. And then 2 emergency caches. So there we go. That's the deck. Dunno, what do you think? What do you think? I think there's some interesting cards in there. I had a chat to Dexter beforehand. He's quite the showman. He was pulling rabbits out of hats and pulling coins from behind my ears and all kinds of things. It's hard to know how confident he really is, because he really kind of has this showman-like persona about him in his cloak and his top hat. Very, very theatrical in that way. So we will see how he goes. So let's close and shuffle up this deck. There we go. I've also got, just so you know, I've got 10 curse tokens in here in case we need them. Yes, and Dexter is in the study. He's actually performing magic tricks for the crowd who are coming in. So there's lots of laughter and applause. What a showman he is. So he doesn't seem to be concerned so much about the gathering as more as just sort of entertaining the crowd. So if nothing else, I think he's going to be a very entertaining investigator to watch. So I think all we've got to do now is, while he's doing those, is just go through the agenda and the act deck, and then we're ready to start. So Agenda 1A, what's going on? It's late at night and you're holed up in your study researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. And, trapped, as you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes. Is this magic? Leaving behind only a solid wall. If only I could do that trick. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. There we are. We are playing on standard difficulty. All the cards are laid out. 3 actions. Oh, there goes the horn. Yes, and Dexter Drake bows to the crowd, puts the rabbit and the pigeon away, puts his cards away, his playing cards, and he is ready to go in the gathering. Okie dokie. So what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, I tell you what we want. We want Leo DeLuca. We definitely want Leo DeLuca. What else do we want? We want Shriveling. We definitely want Shriveling. What else do we want? We also want Dexter's signature card, because it's so awesome. And we also want a flashlight, because we are going to struggle otherwise. Apart from that, a secondary weapon, I don't care what it is, something that allows us to deal with ghoul minions and whatnot would also be very welcome. I think that's, quite a shopping list, really. Let's see. Let's draw our cards. So we'll draw 5 cards and see what we get. Okay. Promise of Power is nice. Knife, that's good. 5 resources. That could be good for Leo DeLuca, but I want to maximize my opportunity to get Leo DeLuca, to be honest. I'm sorry, I'm going to throw all of these in because I really want to maximize our chances of getting Leo DeLuca. Let's draw another 5. Being very aggressive here on my draw. No, we don't get Leo DeLuca, unfortunately. So no allies for Dexter. Unfortunately, let's put all these in here and shuffle them up. But actually, this is not bad because the Holy Rosary is good. Drawn to the Flame, good. Swordsmanship, excellent. Switchblade, yeah, all right. That's something. And the Sword Cane, brilliant. So we have some way of fighting or invading, so that's good. So actually, pretty happy with that. I'm glad we threw all those in and redrew. So there we go. So, okay, well, let's start then. First action, let's do a bit of a setup here. Let's bring out, let's pay 1 and bring out the showmanship. So, yeah, very nice. That's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to bring out the Holy Rosary. There we go. So that now means that we're playing at a 6 willpower. The third thing I'm going to do, this is unusual because I'd start, but I really want to set up. I'm actually going to spend 1 and bring out the switchblade. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is for 2 reasons. First of all, does that apply after an asset enters play? And yeah, +2. Okay. Now, the reason I've done that is Crypt Chill. So, although we've got 6, but you never know, auto failed. So if Crypt Chill, we do badly on that, then, you know, we've got something we can throw away. But also, it means that we can replace the switchblade, which is quite frankly pretty crappy, with the sword cane using this ability, which really gives us +2. So we can bring it out fast, and then we can get +2 for it. So in a way, this is just here as a proxy for the sword cane, which we will bring out when we need. So that's the reason for that. So I'm being sort of preemptive there. I don't really want the switchblade, but it means that then that sits there and means I get all of the advantages if I bring out the sword cane. That was our three goes. So yeah, it's not the fastest start in the world. It really was a setup phase, and I realized that I didn't talk about the table. That's all right. The fastest people who've done the table is around 7 turns, but we're not going to try and do it the fastest. So let's see how we go. Okay, so that's the first round. Really just a setup round, getting all of our assets out. So we will move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we will move into the upkeep phase and we get Tempt Fate. Yeah, fast play, add 3, and then add, okay. I'm not sure why we would want to do that, except we draw a card, but I think I'll probably use it for the willpower. That's fine. So we will move into the mythos phase. The first doom has gone down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And the encounter deck has Rotting Remains. Well, we're not too worried about this. We're a 6. So we are a 6 willpower. It's a 3. We're not going to commit anything to this. Chaos Bag gives us a -1. So we easily, Rotting Remains are not going to worry us at all. We've fought in the Great War. We've seen plenty of Rotting Remains. No issue for us. Okay. So that's the end of the mythos phase. We move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Dexter. So what are we going to do now? Well, I think it's time for us to start to do some investigatoring. Now, I don't want to use Drawn to the Flame in here. I want to really keep that for the seller. I don't really want to use this. I'm just going to just straight up and see how we go. Because, for example, though, if we did have a, what's the word? What am I thinking of? If we did have a flashlight, we would get +2. So we could have played the flashlight brought it out instead of the switchblade, we could have then gotten +2 to all our investigation things, but we don't have a flashlight, so I think we get, I mean, it's a 2 versus a 2. At the moment, the skulls are 0, so the chances of us actually succeeding are relatively high. So let's just go ahead and investigate. But this is the biggest problem with Dexter, is that, yeah, getting clues is more of a challenge. So let's go ahead. He's searching the study. Let's see where we go. 2 versus 2. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we succeed. He finds the first clue relatively easily. Let's do that again. Investigate again. 2 versus 2. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, and yes, indeed, it's 0. So we succeed again. It's pretty easy. Brilliant. There we go. So we've got 1 action left. So we've got 2 choices here. We could move into the hallway, get ourselves up to the attic. Or we could wait, because we might get something like a ghoul minion or something like that, or even a ravenous ghoul. And whilst we could fight something like a ravenous ghoul, I would prefer to avoid that. Yeah, because we didn't get a shriveling, did we? Yeah. So, So let's, for our final action, I think we draw. I know I shouldn't do this normally, but I'm just going to draw a card. Oh, we got obfuscation. Very nice. Okay. Good. All right. Let's move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies or enemas to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get another sword cane. Well, I guess we don't need 2. But, yeah, that's all right. I would prefer to get a shriveling or a flashlight. But anyway, we get what we get and we don't get upset. Okay. So that's the end of the upkeep phase. We move into the mythos phase. There are 2 doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And it has another rotting remains. So again, so a lot of rotting remains in the study today. So we're a 6 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a skull. So we succeed. No issue. Okay. So let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Dexter. Well, the first thing we're going to do is chuck in these clues. We'll chuck in the clues. And we will flip the trapped. And we'll read it out. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see the door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You jump through to the hallway and landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So we put all of the locations: hallway, cellar, attic, and parlor. We get rid of the study and we move into the hallway. So let's go ahead and do that. So the study is gone. We're in the hallway. Flip the hallway, twink. And we're ready to go here. I'll just read out the new act. The barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlor. As you move toward it, intense heat forces you to back away. So picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or the attic that can help. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway may as a group spend the requisite number of clues to advance. And yes, of course, the parlor is blocked. You can't go through it at the moment. So there we go. We are ready here in the hallway. First action. La-di-da-di-da. Up to the attic we go. There we go. And of course, in the attic, we take a horror. There we go. 2 clues. So here we are. So I think the thing to do now is to just go ahead and investigate. So we're a 2, it's a 1. So we're talking about a -1 or better. First action, Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. Wow, an Elder Sign. What's Elder Sign do? +2, you may return an asset from your play area to your hand and then draw a card. Well, So we could bring back... Yeah, we could bring back the switchblade. We could draw a card. Sneak attack. Very nice. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, we didn't get a... Would have been nice to actually have gotten a flashlight again, but that's all right. All right. Brilliant. So... So that was a success. So we've got one action left. I think we go ahead and investigate again. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we succeed again. And there we go. We get both clues and the crowd goes wild. Dexter bows deeply. He's found the 2 clues. He's doing pretty well. Turn 3. That's pretty good. So he's doing very well at the moment. So, yeah, pretty fast. That was our 3rd action. So pretty good. So we were in the hallway, we moved up to the attic, took a horror, of course, and then we managed to find the 2 clues. So next time we will pop down to the cellar, and I just think we use Drawn to the Flame, and then we're done and dusted. We can think about the Ghoul Priest and how we might manage that. Excellent. Okay, so let's move into the... how many cards have we got? 7. That's fine. We won't lose any. So we'll move into the enema phase. There are no enemas to speak of. So we'll move into upkeep. And we get Tides of Fate. We're really not drawing into the cards that we want. Because the thing is, we could use the Sword Cane to attack the Ghoul Priest. We would be attacking with a 6 versus a 4. Which all sounds great. But the only problem is we're doing 1 point of damage. Now, the alternative, of course, is to get Leader Chandler on board. The problem with that is we are literally at 2 intellect, so we would need, quite a few cards to bolster that up, to make that happen as well. So all in all, it's not ideal, but anyway, it is what it is. Let's move into the mythos phase. There's the 3 doom down. So let's get rid of the doom. Let's flip that over. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely. Although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. Ah, there's my gold-plated saw that I used to cut the lady in half. Ah, yeah, those metal rings that I used to do the... Yeah, okay. The lead investigator must decide either investigator discards 1 card at random or takes 2 horror. Well, I'm just going to put a horror onto the Holy Rosary, and I'll take a horror. I'd rather do that than lose any cards. So we're now into Rise of the Ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be here when they do. Right, there we go. So... Okie dokie, so there we go, that's that. So I guess we see what the good old encounter deck has, and the encounter deck has... How many rushing remains? What? There are 3 of them in them. Yeah, there are, wow. 3 in a row, rotting remains. Okay, 6 versus 3, here we go again. Thank goodness it wasn't grasping hands. Chaos Bag gives us a tablet, which is -2, so no, they're all good. Okay, just rotting remains for days at the moment. So we'll move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Dexter. Well, we know what we're going to do. So we will go ahead and do that. So we will spend 2 actions moving down to the cellar. Clonk, clonk, clonk. So we're walking down to the cellar, looking at our lovely sword cane, and we step on our cloak and trip and go stumbling down into the cellar and take a damage. Ouch. Okay. So we're here in the cellar, and the final action, we are going to play Drawn to the Flame. So we've got to draw the top card of the encounter deck first, and we get a Flesh Eater. Wow. Okay. It's really strange. So we've gone games and games and games without any of these special ghouls. Last time with Trish, we got the Flesh Eater and the Icy Ghoul, and now we've got another one. What is going on? But anyway, we get both clues from the location, which I hadn't even put out yet. And so that means that we get the victory point. And the crowd goes wild. So there we go. It's only turn 4. We have all of the locations. So really now it's a little bit like what we had with Trish's. What do we do in terms of the Ghoul Priest and the Flesh Eater? How do we deal with all of that? Yes, is sort of interesting. So I think it's relatively early, and relatively few of the investigators, as you would know from the table, have actually got 7 XP from killing an additional ghoul on top of getting the attic, cellar, and the Ghoul Priest. So it's definitely worth pursuing for the Investigator Games at the very least. So I think depending on how things go through the mythos phase, I think we go and take a little trip up and we deal with the Flesh Eater. Probably get out the sword cane and do a bit of sword action in there. Okay, great, brilliant, very happy. So we move into the enemy phase. There isn't an enemy, but they don't hunt; they just sit in the attic. We move into the upkeep phase, and we get an elusive. We've still got 8 cards in our hand, so that's good. So we move into the mythos phase. The first doom is down in this act. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And the encounter deck has rats. All of a sudden, they're all coming out in terms of various things. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay, so we will move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Dexter. So what do we do here? There's a couple of things we could do. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play elusive fast. So that costs 2. I disengage with any enemies and move to reveal. That gets me every time. Sorry, back that up. I was thinking I could. I could move up to the attic and save time, but actually no. So okay, that's not going to work. Okay, this is what we do. We spend 1 fast action. We bring out the switchblade. It's a fast action, so it doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity. However, after an asset enters play under your control, until the end of round, you get +2 to each of your skills, resolving the triggered ability. So we're going to fight, which means we get +2 to our fight till the end of the round. Wow. So that is brilliant. So that means we can fight as a 4 versus a 1 because of that. That's right, isn't it? After an asset and play under control, to the end of the round, you get +2 to each of your skills while resolving a triggered ability on that asset. So that's fight. So there we go. So we're a 4 versus a 1. Let's go ahead and fight. Chaos Bag gives us a -4. 4 versus a 1. No. So we fail. That's all right. We will do it again. A 4 versus a 1. Chaos. Yeah. Really? Fail again? So we will do it a 3rd time. Chaos Bag gives us -2. And we succeed and we kill the rats. Wow. That was, I can't believe that, a -4 and then an auto fail. I guess it's best to do it on a swarm of rats. So there we go. Thank goodness we had the +2 until the end of the round. So there we go. So that really took more than I thought it was going to do, because we fast played the switchblade. We then failed, and then just passed, and we killed the rats. So there we go. Oh well, that's fine. I was hoping I could get up to the hallway so then we could deal with the flesh eater later, but that's the way it is. So not a great round. It was kind of really a waste of time. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's move into the enemy phase. The enemy is not going to do anything to us. So we move into upkeep and we get a ward of protection. Very nice. Yep. So we'll move into the mythos phase. Speaking of wards of protection, let's see what the encounter deck has. Encounter deck has obscuring fog. We don't care about that, thank goodness. So that just sits there. Put it behind. Yep. It's into the back. So yeah, that just makes that a 6. So thank goodness we didn't get that before, but we could have ward of protected it anyway. So we can move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to good old Dexter. Now, what I'm thinking we do is we spend 2 actions and we move back up to the attic. So we take another horror, fortunately, but that's all right. So the flesh eater is now upon us. Now, what we do now is use our special ability. So we can discard an asset we control. We can play an asset, but with a different title, but at less, it's only going to cost us 1. So we bring out the sword cane. So we've done all of that. So during a turn, discard an asset, play an asset with a different title, reducing its cost by 1. So we brought out the sword cane. So we've magically turned the switchblade into a sword cane. Now, because of that, asset enters play under your control, which means that we get +2. So we don't have to exhaust the sword cane, but it doesn't matter, it's our last action anyway. We can evade. I probably evade because we don't want to take any. So we're going to evade with a +2, but we're using our willpower as well. So we're a 6, we're an 8 versus a 1. So unless we auto fail this, we are fine. 8 versus 1, chaos bag, no, -1. No, so we've exhausted the flesh eater. There we go. Very nice. Okay, that's the end of that. So next time, I think we look to evade, maybe do some damage, and then take out the good old flesh eater. So we'll move into the enemy phase. The enemy's exhausted, so we move into upkeep. He's back on deck. Oh, we get emergency cash, which is nice. We've got a full hand, though. I'm not sure what we're going to do. Well, we'll be using some cards next time, so that's okay. Okay, so that's the end of the upkeep phase. We're in turn 7 now. It's third doom is down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. Well. Oh dear. Okay, now we've got 2 of these guys on us. Okay, this makes things a little bit more challenging. Still no shriveling, still no allies. I don't know where they all are. We've really been sort of left by ourselves to deal with these, but anyway. Ooh. Okay, let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Dexter. So the first action... Oops. Oh, and this is... exhaust it to evade, right. The first thing I'm going to do is spend 2, bring out obfuscation. That's got 3 charges on it. That's a fast action. Yeah. I don't want to replace it with something else. No. I'm just playing it just as it is. So that's the first thing. Yep. Second action, I'm going to exhaust the sword cane. Is that the right thing to do? Yeah, so first action, exhaust the sword cane. We will evade the Flesh Eater. So we are, it's using a 6, isn't it? Or should we be evading the Ghoul minion? Yeah, maybe we should. So maybe we evade the Ghoul minion, so we're a 6 versus a 2. A 6 versus a 2. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. Good job we did that. So we evade the Ghoul minion. Second action, we're going to go ahead and evade the Flesh Eater. So we're a 2 versus a 1, but I'm going to make that a 3 versus a 1. Should we make it a 4 versus a 1? 3 versus a 1. Let's just make it a 3 versus a 1. So 2 up. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we succeed. So we evade the Flesh Eater. So he's exhausted as well. And then for our final action, so that was our second action. For our final action, we're going to spend 2, and we're going to play Sneak Attack, and we are going to deal 2 damage to the Flesh Eater. Nice. Ow! So we got a Sneak Attack in. Okay, so that was pretty good. We managed to evade both of them, partly using the sword cane, and then we sneak attacked the Flesh Eater for 2 damage. So hopefully we can kill the Flesh Eater next time. Okay, so we move into enemy phase. They're both exhausted. Upkeep, they're back in, and we've got the flashlight. Now we get the flashlight. I suppose we could use that with Leech of Chandler. Still no shriveling. It's really annoying. So there we go. Let's move into the Let's move into the mythos phase. We're now 4 doom down. We're halfway through. Let's see what the encounter deck has. I don't believe this. We've had no ghouls, and suddenly we're getting every ghoul under the sun. Just incredible. What is going on? We've gone so many goes without anything, and now we're getting ghouls and ghouls and more ghouls. Incredible. Anyway, okay. So there's the icy ghoul now. Who's a little bit tougher to deal with, to be honest, compared to the Flesh Eater. He's a much tougher customer, and we're just going to find it quite difficult to, without a backstab, without a sneak attack, those sorts of things, it's going to be quite difficult to deal with him, to be honest. Anyway. Okay, let's go ahead then and move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Dexter. Okay, what are we going to do here? So we are back up here with the sword cane, with the obfuscation, all those sorts of things. Yes, what are we going to do? So I just thought we could dual wield sword canes, which sounds quite cool, doesn't it? Anyway, let's go ahead. First action, let's go ahead and use the sword cane. We're going to exhaust the sword cane. So that gives us a 6. I think we just fight 6 versus 4 on the Flesh Eater. 6 versus 4. Ooh, yeah. Actually. I'm actually thinking, I've changed my mind here. So what I'm going to do is, oh no, we can't do that. I was going to do something where I played the flashlight, then I play a sword cane, but we've only got 2. We can't do that, fortunately. I thought we could do something a bit clever. We can't do that. So what do we do here? The thing is to get the Flesh Eater finished. So yes, I think we exhaust the sword cane, and we fight the Flesh Eater. So that gives us a 6. A 6 versus a 4. 6 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. So first of all, we do a damage to the Flesh Eater. And you return an asset from your play area to your hand, and then draw a card. So we could, what should we do here? Because we could bring the sword cane back to our hand. We could draw a card. We get Leo DeLuca at last. It's a bit late. Yep. Then we could discard obfuscation. Pay 1. Bring the sword cane back out. And that means that we not only do we bring it out, but we get +2 to our abilities. So we can play it again without exhausting it. So we can do another, not only do we do a 5, 6, we make it an 8. An 8 versus a 4. So an 8 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -4, but we did 5, 6, and we get the +2. So the 7, 8. 8 versus 4, and we kill the Flesh Eater. Ah! Crowd goes wild. And we still have 1 action left. So we will exhaust the sword. We will exhaust the sword cane again for our final action, but this time, it's said for any trigger ability, so we can do it again. So we're a 2, we're a 4 versus a 2. Let's go ahead and just do that. 4 versus a 2 on evasion, or do we do a damage? If we do a damage, then we're going to take damage. So I think we do evasion. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. 4 versus 2, we fail. Oh dear, that was a pity. Never mind. 4 versus 2. That was right, wasn't it? 2. Yep. 3, 4. Yep. We failed. Oh dear. Okay. So move into the enemy phase. We take a damage and a horror. We take a damage. And we take a horror. Oh dear. So we move into upkeep phase. We get the Arcane Initiate, which we might need because we really need to find this darn shriveling, which unfortunately we don't have down on the table, because that will make the Ghoul Priest pretty easy then. Okay. So we'll move into the mythos phase. There are 5 doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. Oh no, another Ghoul minion. I can't believe this. Okay, this is getting all a bit crazy, isn't it? Okay. All right. So I think the thing is, we're in the investigation phase. There are 3 actions onto Dexter. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to spend 2. And I'm going to do an elusive. I'm going to move to the hallway. So we disengage from both of these. So the problem is that we're nearly moving into the next phase, and we really, really need to take on the Ghoul Priest. The problem is We don't really have the capacity to do the Icy Ghoul, but we really need the Shriveling. So I've really got to find that, because we are running out of time, unfortunately. Once we've got the Shriveling, things are just unicorns and rainbows, but at the moment they're not. So the first action, I'm going to bring out the emergency cache. 3 resources. Second action, place a doom on it. That will trigger it, won't it? Well, I'll bring out the arcane initiate for now, but oh no. What am I doing? I will keep the arcane initiate for next time. So hold on, let me just think about this. I think we elusived to the hallway. That was a fast action. We then spent our emergency cache, so we still have 2 actions left. So we could either take more resources, or we could draw for Shriveling. I don't want to bring out the arcane initiate because that will trigger it, but next time it doesn't matter. So I think I'm going to draw a card. We get our Dread Curse. So we add 5. Oh my goodness, 5 tokens to the Chaos bag. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's add them to the Chaos bag. Oh boy, that's bad. Okay. Let's draw again, and we're not getting what we need. Although we're getting to a place where we can probably think to get Leader Chandler. So there we go. We've got basically, this isn't a hunter. We've got 1 turn left to try to get Shriveling before all chaos. Chaos is going to happen everywhere. So hopefully we will be able to do that. So we move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we move into upkeep, and we get the Faustian Bargain. Oh boy. Okay. So we'll move into the Mythos phase. There are 6 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And another Ghoul minion. I can't believe this. It's Ghoul minions left, right, and center. Ghoul minions galore. This really is not great. But anyway, it's so strange. We've had so few of this kind of play, and all of a sudden we're just getting overrun. It's just very, very bizarre. Anyway, so we'll move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Dexter. And what are we going to do here? I think I might do this. No, I won't do that. So first action, let's go ahead and evade the... so we will exhaust the Sword Cane. So we can use 6 versus 2 to evade the Ghoul minion. We get a 0, so the Ghoul minion is evaded. So that's the first thing. Second action, we will spend 1, and we will bring out the Arcane Initiate with a Doom. We will exhaust the Arcane Initiate. Search top 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Are any of these spells? Yes, that's a spell. They're not. So we get a Twist of Fate. Shuffle the deck. Okay, we have 1 action left. Oh dear, what are we going to do? We could either draw another card or take a resource. getting rid of obfuscation wasn't such a good idea, but anyway, too late now. So we evaded, we brought out the arcane initiate. Or we bring out another asset so we can... Yeah, I think... do we do that? So we could either take an asset, we could draw a card, we could put out another asset, which means we've got another opportunity to replace that. Can't bring out Leo DeLuca. We could replace... No, we don't want to do that because that... There. Ooh, boy oh boy. This is tough. No, because we want to keep the pips. So I think it's probably best that I take another resource. Or do I try and... get shriveling? The problem is if we draw into our weakness, then we'll be... I think I'm just going to take another resource. I really don't know what the best thing to do, so we'll do that. Okay, things are getting very fraught. We move into the enemy phase. Well, these enemies don't move. They just sit there. So we will move into the upkeep. We have to get rid of something. So we got Dark Ritual. So many cards. Which one do we get rid of? That's really tough. Are we really going to play Leo DeLuca? Yes, we might very well play Leo DeLuca. So... I'll get rid of that. Not that. Not that. It's either that, that. Yeah, I'll probably get rid of that. Okay. All right. Okay, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and throw in the clues because it's now or never. So we'll throw in the 3 clues. So here we are. Using the barrier from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice and hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking passage to the parlour has vanished. Reveal the parlour. Put Leader Chandler in the parlour. Hello, Dexter. Oh, looks like you're in a bit of a bother. Why don't you come and have a little chat to me? Maybe we can sort something out. Put Leader Chandler into the Ghoul Priest in the hallway. Hello, Dexter. Well, that's a mighty fine cane you've got there. Yes, very nice. It's not going to do much for you, though, is it? Okay. There we go. So we are at What Have You Done? A woman with a torch stands in your parlour, a glimmer of hatred in her eyes. What have you done to my barrier? She screams furious. Before you can answer, a ghastly wail sounds behind you, and a creature wearing robes and a deer skull mask tears through the wall, advancing towards you. If the Ghoul Priest is defeated, advance. Okay. There we go. So there we go. That's the end of the round. God knows how this is going to go. Let's move into the mythos phase. There are the 7 doom. So this flips, and also the doom comes off the arcane initiate. So a feral beast, roughly humanoid with canine casque and hooves for feet. Casque and hooves for feet tears through the ground in front of you. Below the floor, you can see vast tunnels beneath the house. Fiendish howling echoes from deep within the underground caverns. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a Ghoul enemy is discarded. Lead investigator draws that enemy. So let's do that. Shuffle in. Shuffle up. Nope. 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 Yes. It's the good old Ravenous Ghoul. It's just ghoul today. There we go. You hear a crazed howl outside, and suddenly the creatures turn their attention to that sound. They rush to escape the house, breaking down doors and clawing at everything along their way. At the end of the enemy phase, each unnamed ghoul gauge enemy moves one location towards the parlour. We don't want to be there. At the end of the round, place one doom on this agenda for each ghoul enemy in the parlour. Wow. Okay. Yep. Wow. And then we'll see what the encounter deck has. Hello. And of course, this is when Grasping Hands comes out. 3 versus 2. 3 versus 2. Well, we can make that a 3 versus 3. Oh, no, hold on. No. Let's use this. Let's spend 1. Let's bring out the water protection, cancel that effect. We take a horror. We'll put a horror onto the arcane initiate. A horror. And we'll just eliminate that. There we go. Okay, so here we go. Now we've got some decisions to make here. About what we do. Well, we can exhaust the arcane initiate. Let's do that and look at the top 3. 1, 2, 3. Good job we did, because there's our weakness, but none of these are spells. So they go back in and we reshuffle that up. So there we go. That's the first thing that we'll do. Now, oh, he's on there as well, isn't he? Oh my goodness. There's just, wow, just masses. Maybe we should have kept our... it's too late now. So, I really don't know what to do here, because we don't have the... we've really got to try and get into the parlour, because without Leader Chandler, we're really going to struggle. So, yeah, we're going to struggle without Leader Chandler. So what I think I'm going to have to do is discard the Arcane Initiate. Spend 1. Bring out the Sword Cane. Yeah. We've got 3 actions here. This is all the fast action here. So we're just replacing one with another. It costs 1 less. So we brought out, now we're dual wielding sword canes. Well, this is epic, isn't it? Dual wielding sword canes. We've got 3 actions. So the first action is we are going to evade the Ghoul Priest without using our sword cane, which we don't have to exhaust. So that makes us a 6 versus a 4 with the sword cane. Do we try and do that without committing? Let's try and do that without committing. A 6 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -2, so we succeed. Where have you gone? Then we do it again, a 6 versus a 3 on the Ravenous Ghoul. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. So, and that's the Sword Cane exhausted. So they're both exhausted. And then we move to the parlour with the Ghoul Minion, I'm afraid. Yeah. And we take an attack of opportunity. Oh, this is not good. So we take a damage and a horror. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how this is going to go, but anyway. Okay, that was the investigation phase. We move into the enemy phase. It does another damage and horror to us. This is really bad. Yep. And then we move into the upkeep phase. Everything's back up. Boy. Okay. All right. Ooh, so we move into the mythos phase. The first doom is down. Oh, hold on. We forgot something here. At the end of each unengaged ghoul enemy moves towards the parlor. And then at the end of the round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doom. Oh boy, this is impossible. Okay. Oh no, 6 doom. Okay. Oh, we didn't do the encounter deck. And we get Crypt Chill. So let's go ahead and just check that. We get a 0, so that doesn't do anything. Okay, 3 actions onto Dexter. So here we are in the parlor with the ghoul minion. So the first thing we've got to do is evade this ghoul minion. So we can do that. We can exhaust one of the canes. So that's a 6 versus a 2. Chaos Bag, it gives us a 0. So we exhaust. So we've done that. It's our first action. Our second action is we're going to parley for Lita Chandler. So that's a test of 4. And we are a 2, but we can make that a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can make that an 8. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we get Lita Chandler. That's great. And we've got 1 action left, and the problem is that this is going to flip because there's just too many ghouls. So I think for our final action, we resign. It's too much for me. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That was... we managed to survive, but unfortunately we weren't able to get the Ghoul Priest, but we did manage to get the Flesh Eater instead, which meant we ended up in turn 12 with 3 victory points. With 3 victory points, which is not too bad, but not the usual 6 that we would usually hope for. But unfortunately, things just got... I guess we took time to take out the Flesh Eater. We didn't get our Shriveling, and then we just got overrun with ghouls, which just made it almost impossible to finish. And they just came out in a huge rush. So a little bit like last week, we just got overrun by the game. If the Shriveling had come out a lot earlier, of course, we could have taken on the Ghoul Priest and finished him relatively easily, because it would have been a 6 versus a 4, and we would have been doing 2 points of damage, would have dispatched him, but that wasn't to be. I don't know where our Shriveling was. The Arcane Initiate couldn't find it. Nobody could find it. Where was it? It was right down the bottom. Our allies were also way down the bottom, so that didn't help either. So it's just the way it goes in the Investigator games. I hope you enjoyed seeing how Dexter Drake... I did like the fact that he dual-wielded sword canes at the end to ensure that he didn't die. So that was pretty cool, how he kind of evaded the ghouls with sword canes and then ran into the parlor and got Lita Chandler. So there we go. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Now, next time we will go back to the Midnight Masks, because we've done all of these new investigators, and it will be Joe Diamond once again in the Midnight Masks who will be going through that, and I'm looking forward to you joining me then. But until next time, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.